Good morning everyone, my name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Saturday morning, the 15th of February. We are back with the Delphi case today. This is absolutely freaking mind-blowing. The defence for Richard Allen has released 2 documents. I'm going to read one in this video, and I think this is enough to blow your mind well and truly off your shoulders. The second document I will leave for another time. I hope you're sitting down, that's all I can say.
It's time for you guys to start being journalists.
Before an angry Andrew Baldwin left the courthouse, 13 News overheard him speaking to Richard Allen's wife, saying, "It ain't over. The world's watching. The world sees what's going on."
Alright guys, let's get serious here. This is the defendant's verified motion to preserve and produce specific evidence. Listen to this. Richard Allen, by counsel, now comes before the court with his verified motion and moves the court to order the state of Indiana to preserve certain specific evidence and produce the evidence to the defense. Because yes, there's exculpatory evidence out there, and it has been out there a long time. The state has hidden it. This is more evidence from Reese Davis, who we've talked about quite a lot. He was an inmate at Newcastle Correctional Facility when Ron Logan was, and Reese Davis gave an account of a very convincing confession made by Ron Logan to him. So much so that Reese Davis rang the tip line on May 15th, 2017. Yes, this has been known since 3 months after the murders. But there's more. Guys, again, sit down. On February 12th, 2025, Richard Allen's counsel, Andrew Baldwin, met with inmate Reese Davis at the Newcastle Correctional Facility. So, just a few days ago. During their meeting, Mr. Davis informed attorney Baldwin of the following. He, Reese Davis, was in a unique position of having met both Kegan Klein and Ron Logan during their stays at Newcastle Correctional Facility. Reese Davis talked with Ron Logan about the Delphi murders on multiple occasions. Over the course of time, Ron Logan confessed his involvement in the murders along with 2 other people. During those conversations, Logan provided certain details of the crime that only the actual killer would have known, but never divulged who the other 2 people involved in the murders were. On or around March 2024, Kegan Klein was placed in the same general area as Reese Davis, and at some point apparently learned that Reese Davis had talked to Ron Logan while Logan was incarcerated at Newcastle. Over time, Kline began questioning Reese Davis as to Reese Davis's conversations with Ron Logan and whether Logan had ever mentioned Kline's name to Reese Davis during those conversations. Kline enters the chat, everybody. Kline is back! Reese Davis began to realise that Kline may have been one of the other members of the crew that Logan described as being involved in the murders. I just don't know how I feel about this, honestly. Kegan Klein is a liar. Is Kegan Klein fishing for information, involving himself, or is there more to this? Let's carry on reading. Over time, Kegan Klein began to reveal information about the Delphi murders that corroborated details Ron Logan had revealed to Reese Davis several years earlier. Some of the details Kegan Klein provided to Reese Davis are the types of details that could only have been known by someone involved in the killings. These conversations between Reese Davis and Kegan Klein occurred all the way up to the guilty verdict, at which Klein expressed his relief that he would no longer be a viable suspect in the murders due to Richard Allen's conviction. Not knowing whether Richard Allen could be the 3rd person involved in the murders, Reese Davis asked Kegan Klein whether Mr. Allen was the 3rd person involved in the murders. Klein replied that Richard Allen was not the 3rd person and had nothing to do with the murders. Kegan Klein further revealed to Reese Davis that he, Kline, and Logan knew each other through sharing of child porn that they shared on burner phones, and that further Kline and Logan would see each other every 3 to 6 months so that Kline could assist Logan with using the burner phone because Logan was inept working with electronic devices. Reese Davis further explained that once Kegan Klein began revealing his role in the murders sometime in the summer and fall of 2024, before Richard Allen's October trial, he, Reese Davis, began sending letters to Nick McClelland, providing many of the details of his conversations with Kegan Klein in 2024 and Ron Logan in 2017. Reese Davis indicated that he believed he sent as many as 8 letters to McClelland's office, the Davis letters, and presumed that McClelland was sharing the contents of those letters with Rick Allen's defence team. Attorney Baldwin met with Reese Davis on March 27th, 2024, so that's nearly a year ago, and learnt very limited information from Reese Davis, who encouraged Baldwin to watch a videotaped interview law enforcement conducted years earlier. At the February 12th, 2025 meeting, Reese Davis further admitted that when Attorney Baldwin met with Reese Davis on March 27th, 2024, he, Reese Davis, did not provide all the details he knew at the time to Attorney Baldwin, for 2 reasons. 1, he had not yet heard many of the details that Kegan Klein ultimately provided him, including that Kegan Klein was involved in the crime and that he, Kegan Klein, knew Ron Logan. And 2, at the time he met with Attorney Baldwin in 2024, he, Reese Davis, could not be sure whether Richard Allen was one of the 2 people that Ron Logan described as also being involved in the murders. Mr. Davis stated he was guarded during their March 27, 2024 meeting because he, Davis, did not necessarily want to assist Rick Allen's defence counsel if Rick Allen was one of the 3 men that Ron Logan stated was involved in the murders. Makes sense. Again, in his March 27th, 2024 meeting with Baldwin, Reese Davis told Baldwin that he could learn the details of what Reese Davis told law enforcement by watching his videotaped interview that law enforcement should have had in their possession from when they, law enforcement, interviewed Reese Davis sometime years before. So that would have been June 2017, I assume he's talking about. At their February 12, 2025 meeting, Reese Davis was shocked to learn that Baldwin had never received this videotaped interview. Jesus, Mother Mary, and all the saints, please give me strength. Please give me the strength to wrap my head around how much of a cluster F this case really is. Okay, get it together, Michelle. Following his March 27th, 2024 visit with Reese Davis, the next day, March 28th, at 11:49 p.m, Attorney Baldwin emailed both Nick McClelland and Stacey Dina requesting that they turn over law enforcement's videotaped interview of Reese Davis, in which Davis presumably provided the details of Ron Logan's confession on tape. To date, the prosecution have never provided any videotaped Reese Davis interview to the defence, nor explained why it has not done so, nor stated no such videotape exists, and have ignored the request. Why are we only finding out about this now? This was nearly a year ago, well before the trial. Why are we only finding out now that Andrew Baldwin met with Reese Davis and that there are other things, other videos, other evidence that the prosecution haven't turned over? Presumably, I would imagine that Baldwin didn't feel this was really important because Reese Davis was guarded with him in March 2024 because Reese Davis didn't want to assist the defence if Rick Allen was involved. I get it. So maybe Baldwin didn't feel that this was important enough to pursue because there were so many other things that were going on at the time. Anyway, the approximate 8 letters Reese Davis claims he sent McClelland in the months leading up to the October 2024 trial would contain multiple layers of exculpatory evidence which the defence could have used to further its investigation into whether certain facts contained in these letters could be verified through crime scene photographs, digital data, and a variety of other means. Defence counsel has never seen the Davis letters nor known of their existence until after the trial, which defence counsel met with Mr Davis on February 12, 2025. Also, the prosecutor has never informed the defence counsel of the existence of any such letters. On the evening of February 12, 2025, defence counsel Baldwin sent an email to Nick McClelland, and his in-house investigator Steve Mullin requested they produce both the Davis letters and any video recording in their possession of an interview with Reese Davis. McClelland's response was vague, non-responsive to the defence request, and did not indicate whether he, McClelland, had received those letters or whether he sent those letters to the defence. In other words, McClelland never confirmed or denied the existence of said letters. Neither did he confirm or deny that he provided those aforementioned Reese Davis letters to defence counsel. On February 3rd, 2025, 3:54 p.m, Attorney Baldwin sent another email to McClelland asking straightforward questions. Did you receive multiple letters from Reese Davis in the months leading up to Richard Allen's October 2024 trial? If so, did you turn those letters over to the defence? These should be questions easily answered and quickly answered. If McClelland never received such letters, he should know that answer immediately, since Reese Davis claims that he sent the letters directly to Nick McClelland. If McClelland did receive such letters, he should know the answer immediately. Furthermore, if he did receive such letters, he should very quickly be able to identify the dates he sent those letters to the defence and how he sent them to the defence, email, e-discovery, etc. As of the time of the filing of this document, McClelland has failed to answer those simple, straightforward questions. The defence has reviewed all e-discovery from March 2024 to the present to determine whether the prosecution provided the Davis letters to the defence to determine if those letters were hidden amongst other discovery. Because the prosecution were good at that. Hiding things could have been easily overlooked. But if these letters were not in the discovery before the trial, this sounds like newly discovered evidence, doesn't it? Alright, we'll read that again. The defence has reviewed all e-discovery from March 2024 to the present to determine whether the prosecution provided the Davis letters to the defence to determine if those letters were hidden amongst other discovery. The defence found no such letters penned by Reese Davis addressed to Nick McClelland in the e-discovery. The defence has reviewed all emails during the applicable time frame to determine whether McClelland ever forwarded an email with an attached letter from Reese Davis. No such email exists. The defence requests that the court order McClelland's office, as well as any law enforcement agency, to preserve any letters from Reese Davis in their possession and further to turn them over to the defence immediately. What is the chances of them saying either we didn't receive any letters and when actually they did, but they destroyed them already? How could anybody prove that? The defence similarly requests the court order McClelland's office, as well as any law enforcement agency, to preserve any video recordings of an interview with Reese Davis in their possession and further to turn each video recording over to the defence immediately. Now we understand why, in their motion in limine, the prosecution included Ron Logan, Tony Kline and Kegan Klein. Because I was confused by that, because the defence were all out with the earnests. But I thought, well, maybe they're thinking that the defence might throw in a curveball, about previous suspects, previous investigations. But no, I think it was more than that. It was because they knew that these letters existed, this information existed, and they were scared that the defence would bring it up and sideswipe them during the trial. But the defence couldn't because they didn't know. They didn't know any of this, did they? The defence is concerned that without an order to the court, the prosecution and or law enforcement may lose the Davis letters. Yeah, if they've not already done so, as well as the videotaped interview of Reese Davis, or that the state of Indiana may refuse to turn them over to the defence. The defence's concern is well founded, based upon law enforcement's history in this case of losing evidence as documented before during trial, including claiming that they taped over certain important videotaped interviews. The defence can produce a witness with admissible evidence that in the months before Mr. Allen's trial, the prosecution received some number of letters from Reese Davis and that those letters have been given to the people investigating the case. The defence has a constitutional right to know of the existence of the Davis letters so that the defence could conduct its own investigation concerning the contents of those letters, including conducting depositions that would naturally flow from the facts alleged in those letters. Had the defence known of the Davis letters before trial, it could have used those letters to further its investigation, present them to this court at a hearing on August 1st, 2024 on third-party suspect culpability, and factored the information contained in those letters into its trial strategy. Had the defence received those letters after the verdict, then the defence could have incorporated those letters into its motion to correct error. Conclusion. For the foregoing reasons, the defence respectfully requests this court order the prosecution and any law enforcement agency to preserve any letters from Reese Davis in their possession. 2. To immediately turn over to the defence any letters from Reese Davis in their possession. 3. To preserve any video recordings of interviews with Reese Davis in their possession. 4. To immediately turn over to the defence any video recordings of interviews with Reese Davis in their possession. And 5. To preserve all records in whatever form and communications, electronic or other, including emails and text messages pertaining to Reese Davis. Respectfully submitted, Andrew J. Bowen. Jeez. I don't know that I believe Kegan Klein was involved, but what on earth is this shit show? Nothing will surprise me anymore. Nothing. My mind is truly blown yet again in this case. Is yours? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'll see you in the next video. I need to lie down now. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl. Good girl.